It would be nice to be George Clooney, buy a house on Lago di Como and not worry about anything. But most of us are not George Clooney. We have real lives, kids, grandkids, a mortgage, a house we lived in for 20 years. And the idea of selling everything and moving to Italy, even though it sounds beautiful, can also feel terrifying. What if it doesn't work? What if you get sick? What if you miss your family more than you expected? What if you sell your house and then Italy isn't what you imagined? These aren't hypothetical questions. Every one of these questions is a real possibility that you have to take into account, and almost nobody talks about it. Well, let me tell you something. There is another way. Most people planning a move to Italy assume they have to make a choice. Either sell the house, liquidate everything, and commit fully, or stay home and keep dreaming. That's the false choice almost everyone makes, and it's why so many people who genuinely want to move to Italy never do. But there is a third option that makes everything so much simpler. Keep your home in the US or Canada or UK or Tel Aviv and rent it out. Use that income to fund your life in Italy where you will rent. Before we get into it, everything we cover in this video and a lot more is at ItalyBlueprint.com. Free tools, loads of guides, life calculators, and the full Italy relocation roadmap, worth bookmarking before you go any further. Now let's talk about why this strategy works. Before you do anything, you have to understand that moving to Italy is much more of a life decision than a financial decision. Think about where you are right now and think about where you'll be in 5, 10, or 15 years. When you first moved to Italy, you know the version of Italy you visited and dreamed about, the restaurants, the views, the slow mornings, but you don't know what the winter feels like in that town. You don't know which neighborhoods actually work for your daily life. You don't know whether the region you fell in love with in October suits you in February. Most people who move to Italy and buy immediately before they've lived there end up discovering something they didn't expect. Not that Italy is wrong, but that they could have chosen better. A more suited house, closer to the center of town, maybe a different town. Or maybe they don't love Toscana as much as they thought. And by then, changing that decision is expensive and slow. Renting gives you something buying can't. The ability to get it right. Rent in the countryside first. Space, privacy, quiet. The adjustment period usually calls for that. Then, as you get older, when driving is less appealing, when you want your doctor, your pharmacy, your coffee bar, your friends, all within walking distance, move to the town center. That transition is easy when you're renting. 6 months notice and a new lease. Owning a property on the outskirts when you're 75 and can't drive is a very different kind of problem. And here's the part that most people miss entirely. You can always sell your US home later. Not now, not before you know, but after 5 years, when you're settled, when you know your town, when you know your neighbors, when you've built a real life in Italy. That's when you sell your US house. That's when you take the capital, the equity you've been building for years, and you buy your forever home in Italy. Now the numbers, because the numbers are surprisingly good. For this argument, let's do America, but it fits most modern countries. The average US home rents from around $2,000 a month. A comfortable 2-bedroom apartment in southern Italy, Sicily, Puglia, Abruzzo, runs on average 500 euros a month. Your US home covers your Italian rent and you still have over $1,400 left every month. On taxes, 2 things worth knowing. On the US side, rental income is taxable, but deductions for management fees, maintenance, and depreciation reduce what you actually owe significantly. Most people end up owing little or nothing after deductions. On the Italian side, if you're in the 7% flat rate regime, your US rental income is simply included in that flat rate. No separate wealth tax on the property, just 7%. If you're not in the 7% tax regime, Italy will tax your rental income at standard rates. But the foreign tax credit means you're not paying twice. The numbers are still in your favor. And this whole time, your US home is appreciating. So when you're ready, 5 or 7 years in, you sell it on your own terms and use that equity to buy your forever home in Italy, with full knowledge of exactly where you want to be. Then there is the big pink elephant in the room that nobody talks about. And I believe it is the thing that probably matters the most. Moving to Italy is one of the biggest decisions most people will ever make. And the single biggest reason people who want to do it never actually do isn't the visa or the taxes or the language or even the separation. It's fear. The fear of burning the bridge. The fear that if you sell your house, you're committed to something that might not work. The fear of not having somewhere to go back to if it doesn't. The fear of being away from your family when you're getting to that age. That fear is completely rational. You're not being weak or indecisive. You're being human. But here's what changes when you keep your home. You're not immigrating. You're trying something. That's a completely different psychological experience. The same physical move, the same flight, the same apartment in Sicily, the same Italian life feels entirely different when you know the bridge is still there. Some people will try Italy and realize after a year that it's not what they imagined. That's fine. They go home, they still have a home to go back to. Nothing is lost except a year's rent, which they paid anyway using their own rental income. In fact, it's not even a loss. You will call it my Italian adventure and have great stories to tell your family and friends. Some people will try Italy and never want to leave. Also fine, they keep renting, they keep living well, and 5 or 7 years in, when they know exactly where they want to plant roots permanently, they sell the US home and buy their forever home in Italy. Now, there is a very practical side to this whole new reality, because renting in Italy has specific legal advantages that most people don't know about. The standard long-term rental agreement in Italy is called the 4+4 contract, contratto a canone libero, an initial 4-year lease that automatically renews for another 4 years. During those 8 years, the landlord cannot remove you except under very specific legal circumstances. Italian rental law strongly favors tenants. Your rent is locked at the agreed rate for the duration, and you can leave with a 6-month notice anytime by registered letter. The logistics are also dramatically simpler than buying. You find a place, you sign a lease, you move on. When you're already managing one of the biggest life transitions you've ever made, removing that layer of complexity matters more than most people realize. There's one more thing, and this one is big. Your US home is an asset your children understand. In a country they know, in a legal system that works, in a language they speak, in a currency they use every day. Italian inheritance law, called forced heirship or legittima, is complex. It reserves a portion of your estate for direct heirs, regardless of what your will says. For your children inheriting an Italian property, navigating that process from the US in Italian through the Italian legal system can be time-consuming and expensive. A US property is far simpler inheritance, and when you eventually do buy your forever home in Italy, you will do it with clear eyes. The right path, the right legal structure, and a plan for what happens after you. And of course, there is another side to all of this. If your US home has no mortgage and the equity is sitting idle, the math might work differently for you. If you have a very clear, fully tested conviction about exactly where in Italy you want to live permanently, buying sooner might make sense. And if not owning your space is something you genuinely can't live with psychologically, that's also real. Not everything is a spreadsheet. The point isn't never buy in Italy. The point is don't rush it. Rent, live there, know it, let Italy earn the permanent decision. And then, when you're ready, when you know, when you are finally Italianized, buy the home that fits it. Or keep renting and use the rental income forever. That's not a compromise, that's a different version of the dream. Let me leave you with this. The George Clooney version of moving to Italy: buy the villa, don't look back, never worry about anything again. That works when you have George Clooney's resources and George Clooney's certainty. Most of us need a slightly more grounded version. Keep your home, rent it out, rent in Italy, build your life there slowly, deliberately, with a safety net still in place. And when the time is right, when Italy has earned it, buy your forever home there. Or not, but with so much more knowledge and certainty. This version is available to far more people than they realize. If these videos are helping you plan this, there is a simple way to support the channel. I opened this channel for memberships. It's a way you can support the work I do here. Membership starts at $5 a month. Link is in the description. And if you want the full financial picture of the move, tax residency, the 7% flat tax regime, how to structure everything before you register anywhere in Italy, the Italy Retirement Blueprint covers all of it. Link is in the description or follow the QR code. A presto!